Hi, Nathan, and thanks for joining us today in our research sessions. So, Nathan Fowler, for everyone out there, is our head of research at Search Party Property. And what we're going to do today is just go through one of our data sources platforms that we use, which is called HTAG, higher than average growth. And we're just going to go through a few parameters that Nathan looks at as the head of research and helps direct and navigate our team through where we're buying in our property searches. So, over to you, Nathan, to start the session.
So I just thought it'd be an interesting exercise today to have a look at a few different benchmarks we use. So here I've just got a series of different supply and demand metrics. So for example, days on market, which is the average number of days that a property would be on the market before it's sold. We've got, of course, rental vacancy rates, by search index, which is sort of a measure of online search interest for a particular area. And I thought it'd be interesting if we just applied some really basic high level benchmarks here, just to have a look at using historical data, the kind of forward looking projections for capital growth we can get.
Yeah,
So
just go back up there.
having a
Yeah, I
look
saw
at
you had
the,
vacancy
yep,
rate there. That's a big one that we're always constantly looking at and talking to our clients about because obviously, like you said, supply and demand. And if we have a low vacancy rate, we're pretty assured, or one key factor for looking at an area that's going to give us some capital growth or a higher return on rent as well.
absolutely. Yeah. And we've kept it pretty tight for this as well. So all of these properties, all these suburbs, sorry, are less than 1% vacancy. But yeah, it's quite interesting because you can see that just using historical data, so these figures all come from the past month, we can actually end up with pretty positive forward-looking capital growth projections for all of these suburbs. Now, of course, they're not all the most affordable suburbs, but still just an interesting exercise to show the role of supply and demand in our research process as well.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see the variance as well between the change in quarters in year, and then obviously it's forecasting up the top there, right, Nathan? Change 3, 5, and 10-year forecasting as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There is a little bit of variation in there, but yeah, certainly. We can dig in a bit more as well into one of these suburbs, which is Upway, and have a bit more of a look at the trends over time as well, not just last month's figures for these different metrics. So if we come down here, we can have a look at some of the supply and demand graphs. So you can see the stock on market has actually been relatively flat, although that's a pretty key metric. And the same is pretty true for inventory as well. The long-term trend over the last 4 years at least is pretty flat. Building approvals are actually moving up. So in the long term, they're certainly trending up. The short-term trend, however, has been pretty drastically coming down, which is a better sign for capital growth projections. And then hold periods is a similar story as well in terms of the long-term trend here. You can see that it's been pretty steadily climbing since at least 2008.
It's interesting, right? Looking back a couple of years, we had a whole rate period of 17 years, and that has dropped within 2 years to 12. So I think that says a lot about the Victorian market as well, because that's probably been that period where they've coming out the back of the COVID boom, say in 2021, which a lot of the markets in Melbourne did really well, and we've seen that drop down now, which is what we're seeing in the stability of the market there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite a sharp drop there over the last year, and you can certainly see that shift toward Melbourne being more of a buyer's market where the growth has been a little bit more subdued over the last 12 months or so compared to some of the other capital cities like Perth or Brisbane or Adelaide.
Excellent. And what other metrics would you consider being important for example, if we're looking for a client in Upway, would that be an area that you would for what metrics would you consider to be an area why we would invest in Upway?
Well, beyond this, this little exercise, just looking at sort of instantaneous measures of supply and demand, not long-term trends, which is how we arrived at those forecasts initially.
Mm.
We would definitely look at things like affordability indexes over time. ESAD is certainly positive, so that's a measure of socioeconomic status in the area.
Why is
There's
that
a whole
important,
range of
Nathan?
different
Why is
apply.
that important, Nathan, the ESAD score?
It's actually interesting. The effect of ESAD does seem to vary a little bit depending on price point. So below a certain price point, I believe it's around $600,000. The effect of a low socioeconomic status for an area tends to be a lot more pronounced, just in terms of correlation with long-term price growth.
Mm.
Whereas over sort of more premium suburbs, that there seems to be less variation in capital growth based upon socioeconomic status for a suburb.
Yeah, and this is where we're pulling algorithms from all these various sources, obviously HTAG using um, the census reports and ABS statistics to pull that out. If you go back to that graph, obviously, if you look at the different rankings of ESAD, so this is showing us in the metrics of around 8 to 10, which green is obviously a higher ranking as to red. What I did notice in some of the areas we have been buying in, let's say in the last couple of years, such as Perth, we've been buying there now for 3 years, and Brisbane obviously for 6 years. Even when we're buying in areas that have maybe red or even orange rankings or ERSAD scores, it still doesn't necessarily mean that those suburbs haven't grown it or haven't got future growth ability. Correct?
Certainly, yeah, it's just one factor out of
Mm.
many that we need to consider. And with all of these trends as well, it's always important to apply context and consider the size of trends relative to one another for an area. So, an area might have figures that lie beyond our sort of ideal opportune ranges for these kinds of metrics, but there can
Mm.
still be really significant growth just based on the intersection of movement between these different metrics.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting because obviously I'm doing so many calls a day and a week and a year. And one thing I hear a lot of detractors say about certain areas, like, oh, I wouldn't buy there. There's a lot of housing commission or low income people, or it's a rough area, a lot of theft. And sometimes they broad brush whole shires. Let's say Logan Shire, for example, has got 52 suburbs, and say, oh no, don't buy in Logan. It's not a great socioeconomic area. But as we know, as data research, and we dig in deep, we can find gold in any of those areas just based on not just focusing on one point of data. And I think that's the important part you're making there, that this is just one factor, the ERSAD score. But when we look at, I love the one there, the next one, which is about owners and renters. And that's a big one for me, where we can look for areas that have a higher home ownership area, is also contributing to giving us more confidence to ticking off a few more boxes along our check on how we present our due diligence reports to our clients.
Yeah, and certainly as affordability becomes more constrained in places like Brisbane, with your Logan example, you can certainly see where there is potential for more rapid gentrification over time. In areas like Logan, you can see ERSAD levels continuing to rise quite steadily. So it's not always about where the figures are at the moment, but rather, where they might end up in the near future.
All right, that's great, Nathan. Thank you for your insights there. It's really relevant information, and we'll continue on these series to help our clients understand how deep we go into data, and keep educating them along the way, and helping you all understand the various databases and software that we use that Nathan uses particularly to help steer the ship around where we're buying across Australia. So thanks, Nathan.
Thank you.